Hi Michael, thanks for your question. Love talking about Watkins Glen, so what a pleasure to receive that. Yeah, that circuit just engendered everything I love about Formula One, I gotta say. I used to stay in Corning usually, and we'd rent a slushmobile, American slushmobile, as you would, as everybody did, and we'd drive through the woods, usually at around dawn, autumn in New York State, the trees, blue sky, frost. It was just exquisite. And arriving at the circuit, it was all about whistles, marshals in white uniforms, program vendors, everybody generally with a smile on their face, one or two exceptions obviously. The Argot Singers, incredible organization. And you'd walk into the Kendall Tech Center and there would be Mario, there would be Parnelli, there would be Colin Chapman, there would be Ronnie Peterson. And it was, you know, these were my friends, and I just went up and chatted to them for a couple of hours, and then practice would begin, and I'd think, wow, this is the center of the world. This really was. And for me, it's easy to say, well, they were the good old days, weren't they? But they were the good days. I don't know about old, because for me, that's reality, and that's really how Formula One should still be. I don't think big is better, and I think the Glen encapsulated everything that I loved about Formula One. It was the right size. It was a great circuit, very fast, obviously dangerous. Some bitter memories too from there, obviously. But overall, nothing but fond memories of that time of year, that part of the world, and particularly that racetrack. I used to be very good, well, sadly he's passed away, but I was very good friends with Carlos Reutemann, who won the race twice, 74 and 78 in a Brabham and then a Ferrari. And one thing Carlos always used to love to do at the Glen was, because it was the US Grand Prix, and it was a rich race, you know, it brought a lot of money to the teams. Everybody was very on their best behavior, and the white shirts were out in force on the pit wall from all the team owners and the timekeepers and so forth. And Carlos used to love just putting a reality check everybody's way in the first couple of laps on any given Friday, because it was usually a bit sort of slushy and wet and cold right at the beginning of practice. And he just loved running right down against the pit wall, maybe 6 inches from the pit wall, just spraying stuff over everybody just to bring them back to earth again. And he and I had many laughs about that, as to which team principal, as they are now known, was covered in the most amount of slush. Very funny. And when he won at the Glen in 78, I remember driving back towards New York and came across a Holiday Inn, only about, I don't know, 10 miles away from the track. And there they had it on this sort of thing outside, Carlos Reutemann, we love you. I thought, wow, that would only happen in that part of the States. Brilliant. American drivers in Formula One, great shame Colton Herta hasn't been given an opportunity. I think it's pathetic, actually, that Liberty just can't step in and say, we want a good young American with a lot of talent in Formula One. I just can't believe that they're so, what's the word, wet, and not allowing that to happen. Logan Sargent, probably in the Williams. Yeah, I wasn't that impressed with him, I have to say, in FP1 at Austin. The way he was driving, very wide approaches, braking in a straight line, looked as if he was sort of a little bit, I mean, if that's the way he always drives, it's astonishing to me that no Williams engineer has got hold of him already and said, look, you know, let's start getting into an earlier apex, let's start turning in on the brakes and going for it. But I don't want to misjudge him. Maybe that's going to come with more confidence in the car. The problem with young Americans is that there needs to be a proper infrastructure related to Formula One. It needs to be like a reality show, getting 20 young Americans down to 5 who come over and do Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2. And it needs to be properly financed with a proper prize, i.e. the Formula One drive at the end of it. It needs to happen over 5 years. That won't happen by the teams because they won't pay for it. But that's what should happen, and that's why we don't have more, I think. So there are obviously young Americans out there doing all they can to try to get onto that ladder. Two that I'm following at the moment quite closely in British Formula 3, Max Esterton and Bryce Aaron. Didn't have great seasons, either of them, but both of them pretty good. And I like their attitudes, and I like the way they just are happy to get their hands dirty, come to the English winter and really, you know, show that they're up for it. And that's always a very important sign, I think. You know, changing gear ratios in the snow at Snetterton in December isn't everybody's idea of fun when you could be by a swimming pool in Florida, I guess. But these guys have that hunger, and that's a good thing. So they're two guys I'm watching, try and help as much as I can with a bit of publicity, but it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Anyway, enjoy the race today. It's just before the US Grand Prix in Austin, and I hope you're well and you enjoy this video, and thanks very much indeed for requesting it. See you soon.